Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TED Excellence, the show where the big boys are actually little kids and they need overseeing because, actually, these days that's probably true with DEI. Also, I remind you, can you imagine I don't actually write these intros? And I come to you live from Crater Valley on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome again to Thursday. Invasion from Japan Thursday. Yes, Japan has landed a moon probe on the moon. Looking out my back door. And so I have actual neighbors now. After the previously failed moon shots that have taken place over the last couple of years. Yes, now Japan has finally landed. This is it, everybody. I'm no longer alone up here. Well, aside from Dogcat Fox.
Wowie, wow, wow.
Yeah, I mean, aside from him. Stop looking at me like that. Okay. Anyway, how are y'all guys doing tonight? And besides, I guess there's plenty of room up here. Yeah, there's some space to expand, I guess. I guess we'll find out. Either way, who's joining me on this beautiful Thursday evening for, I'm sure, what'll be a very exciting show. Let's see who we got. We got Noah Sencio. Good evening. Keeverdam. Good evening. And thank you, Keeverdam, for providing the links to the GoFundMe's. Guys, if you take a look at the top of the chat box for the links to our friends, Twisted Skipster, James Colley, Grisella, and Angry Illinoisian. If you can check out those GoFundMe's when you have a chance. If you can donate, please consider doing so. If you can't, that's fine. But if you can, share those out on social media. That would help as well. Every little bit helps out our friends from the show. Thank you so much, Keeverdam, for that. Who else is here? Mike R. Good evening. Tony Giff. Good evening. Rotten Corpse. Good evening. Zed the Snarky. Good evening. Tier Alexander the Gentleman Lich. Good evening. Jam. Good evening. Who else is here? Derek LaRue. Holy cats. Thank you, Derek. That's very generous of you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for your continued support and generosity. I really, really appreciate it. Hope you're having a good evening and that you enjoy the show oncoming. Thanks again. Brittany Holland, good evening. Who else is here? Kiro, did I already say Kiro Soldier? Okay, Kiro Soldier, good evening, if I didn't already. Maybe I didn't. I can't remember now. Anyway, Attack Alpaca, good evening. Advocatus Diaboli, good evening. And scrolling. Who else is here? Roger Reynolds, good evening. Mark Smart, good evening. Shadow Claw, good evening to you. C Monkey, good evening. Going down. Oh boy. Jeanette E. Hellis. There she is. Jeanette E. Hellis. Good evening, Jeanette. Hope you're having a good evening so far. Robert Pincus. Good evening. And I hope that's everybody that I can see and say hello to. For some reason, I can't get Robert Pincus off the screen. StreamYard? Okay. That's better. Sorry, Robert. I'd love to have you on all night, but StreamYard was like not letting me move on or anything else. Oh, it's Lexi Mads. Well, now we can really start the show because, Lexi's here. All right. Well, let's see. What about tonight? Because tonight is the night where I had a plan. So yesterday or the day before, famed writer, producer, director Ava DuVernay put out a TED Talk. And I was like, oh my gosh. She made The Wrinkle in Time. Remember Wrinkle in Time, everybody? Remember what a success that was? Yeah, remember that? Remember that DC movie she was getting ready to make? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I wanted to do that one, but I thought to myself, gosh, I don't know much about, I saw one little thing in the blurb about her talking about writing or producing or directing or something. I thought, I don't know enough about this subject that I'd have anything interesting to say or any counterpoints to have, from a sort of professional aspect. So I thought, who do I know that knows something about script writing and the Hollywood process and everything? I know. How about Script Doctor? I was like, hey, Script Doctor, will you co-pilot with me? And of course, because timing is everything, he had work lined up and it was short notice and it just wasn't going to work out this week, which is fine. I'm going to hold on to that one until Script Doctor's schedule opens up. Might be next week, might be the week after. We'll see. But either way, that's for the future. But in place of that, I went to the well, as it were, as in the TEDx YouTube channel, And what did my eyes doth spot? The title of tonight's presentation. What do boardrooms and babysitters have in common? In my mind, the first thing I thought of was, how is a raven like a writing desk? It seemed like a riddle out of Alice in Wonderland or something. And so I'm thinking to myself, what could it be? Well, I mean, I guess the board of directors of a company is sort of like the babysitters of the company, right? They have to oversee things, make sure everybody's doing their job, really have to be like the court of last resort on certain decisions and things. So maybe that's what that means, but I don't know. And if it was that simple of a simile, I'm assuming it wouldn't take our speaker nearly 15 minutes to tell us. But then, as we have learned from past TEDx's, a lot of people can make a lot of hot air out of very little. So I guess we'll find out together. A couple more hellos and then we'll get going here. Corey Suzuki, good evening. And let's see, is San, good evening. Did I miss anybody else? I hope I didn't. If I missed you, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, A2P, good evening. Hope you're doing well and I hope you enjoy the show. Also, just as a note, there's a new Dog Cat Fox stinger in the library. Yes, I've had my first, aside from Keeverdam, let's say, my first viewer submitted Dog Cat Fox. Now, I'm not going to tell you who. And, you know, Dog Cat Fox only comes about when a Dog Cat Fox appears. So we'll see how that goes during the course of the show. Big Dave, 1066, good evening. And with that, let's start off. We got bingo card B, everybody. B as in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Yes, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead was the selection from today's poll on Twitter as to the best babysitter movie of the three that I put up. So you can find links in the description for bingo card B. Get your bingo cards ready. This talk clocks in at just under 15 minutes. I'm going to start off with a few seconds for a sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will proceed.
I was 28 when I had a conversation that changed my life.
Ooh, she was 28 when she had a conversation that changed her life. You guys hear that all right? Let me know in the chat. Let me check a couple other things here just to make sure I got everything lined up. Advocate says, I hear it and I am bored with her already. Well, give it a second, you know. Brittany Holland says, that's a herd from me, Sir Scribe. Sir Scribe. Ooh, I need to have my avatar done up in like shining armor, standing on my mountain. All right. Mike R says childhood anecdote. 28 is not a child. No.
If you're lucky, you had a conversation like this.
Okay.
Before you had it, you stood in one state. Mm-hmm. After you had it, doors flew open and your world changed.
I'm trying to think of such a conversation I've ever had that completely changed my world. That wasn't like somebody telling me bad news. I mean, I suppose it could have been when I sort of sought out my own job, when my other job was basically shutting down and moving all their offices off to Florida or Vegas or something. And it's a long story, but either way, maybe, I don't know. What was your conversation?
Here's what happened to me.
Okay.
It was the late 90s and I was working for a tech startup. Mm-hmm. And some colleagues and I were working on an idea that we thought could reshape the business.
Are we going to get to sales pitch for product or service before we've even gotten a minute into this thing? Okay.
And we pitched it to our CEO and he liked it and surprised me by saying, well, why don't you present it to the board?
Yes, you have to make a business case. It's not just his decision. Are you going to tell us what this idea was, or in the abstract, what it entailed, or how much it would cost, or what it was going to do for the company?
Well, it never occurred to me that me presenting to the board was even an option.
Okay, well, and now you know. And knowing is a continuing source of disappointment.
I will never forget walking into that room. Around the table sat 10 older white men.
What? Okay, can you hear the alarm bells already? Okay, I picked, again, good gravy. I picked this thing because of the title. I had no other knowledge. No other context. It was just a riddle in my mind. I was like, okay, let's have a random question answered. How is a boardroom like Babysitters? And here we are. Where does the school board find them, and why do they keep sending them to me?
Empty seats between them, all wearing suits and ties.
You know, you're at this point, lady, you're kind of a white person, older, white. Oh yeah, I guess, you know, female, as though that means anything. I don't know if you're aware of this, but okay.
I was wearing a brand new, very brown J. Crew suit. I bought it just for the meeting, thinking this is what you wear to a board meeting.
Okay.
Now, this meeting was a big deal with serious.
Whoa, I did not. Was that a bleep? Did the sound cut out there? Was this meeting a what deal? Let's try that again.
Just for the meeting, thinking this is what you wear to a board meeting. Now, this meeting was a big deal with serious players like business icon Barry Diller. And the conversations were serious, heavy, sometimes contentious.
Well, yeah, because they're responsible for the fortunes of the company and so on. And so they're probably going to ask some, you know, probing questions about your idea, try to figure out if there are any downsides to it, kind of game out some contingencies and so on, because that's their responsibility as the board. Why do I think that given the way that she opened this, she's going to categorize anything that was pushback to her idea as inherently sexist and or racist, depending on the circumstances?
There were silences and pauses and points and counterpoints.
And talking over me.
Decisions, big ones, being debated and made.
Well, it's the board of the company.
You could feel the intensity. I felt a wave of intimidation, but I pitched my heart out anyway. And then one of the board members said,
yes.
Well, why don't you move to London and give it a shot?
Okay, so you and your coworkers, somehow it all ends up being you, somehow. You have an idea, you pitch it to the CEO, he says, take it to the board, you take it to the board, and they're like, okay. I'm waiting for the glass ceiling to come smashing down on her head.
And just like that, our idea was a go.
Okay, the sound keeps cutting out on the original recording. That's not me or anything that I did, so I hope that doesn't last.
Except there was nothing just like that about it.
Yeah, usually it's not quite that easy. There was probably some conditions, right?
That idea would never have seen the light of day without the board saying yes.
Well, yes, because it's the company's money.
Now, you might think that the moment that everything changed is when I got the invitation to go to London. No.
Oh.
The real turning point was when I got the invitation to go to the boardroom itself. That moment, that conversation was about access and opportunity. And it wasn't lost on me how few people get access to that level of decision making.
How do you know that? I mean, you took the initiative to bring your crazy idea to the CEO. Not everybody has the gumption to do that in the first place. So maybe it's not that difficult as long as you have a decent idea. But okay, yeah, it doesn't happen often, I suppose, but then I don't know what company you work for.
Whether they were on my side of the table pitching or on the other side of the table deciding.
Oh, I thought you were going to say catching.
Looking back, it was highly unlikely I would have been in that boardroom at all.
Why?
I was born and raised in the South in an environment where it was rare for women to have a career.
Okay, going to the board real quick because I'm already sensing a couple of squares we can circle. Let's take a look at the board. Remember, this is bingo card B, everybody. Going to go over it one time here just to remind ourselves what we're listening for. Marginalize marginalization. I got a feeling we're going to get there if we haven't already. Self-vilification or wretchedness? Not yet. Contradicts own point or argument. We'll see. Feminism? Possibly. Microaggressions, unconscious bias? Maybe. Privilege? There's hints. Benevolent condescension? Again, we're just by her opening couple of statements, just nascent indications we might get there. Weightless example. Plays victim. I was born in the South. I'm a woman. Okay, circling that one. And free space. Collectivizes own demographic. I think we're already there, but I'm going to wait and see if she says anything else. Economic disparity. The South thing might be. We'll see what she says. Argumentative non sequitur. Attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. A list. Mind reading or assumes motives. She assumed outcomes when it came to whether or not you get to see the board. So that's not quite mind reading. We'll wait on that one. Patriarchy. Yes. All these straight white men around the table. Anecdote that probably never happened. Her only anecdote so far, I can believe it, I guess. Diversity, equity, and or inclusion. I'll be surprised if we don't get there. White supremacy. I'm going to wait to see if she uses the words or gives a more hard and fast example. The guys around the table, I'm going to call the patriarchy for now. Childhood or family anecdote. Yeah, she grew up in the South. That's already kind of a childhood anecdote, so circle on that one. Systemic or institutional, we'll probably get there. Leaves out vital context, we'll wait and see. Sales pitch for a product or service, not yet. And lastly, word salad. So far on the board, we have plays victim, free space, patriarchy, and childhood or family anecdote. And if we get microaggressions or unconscious bias, we've already got a bingo. Holy cow. And before it disappears off the board here, thank you, Alan Thyler, for the #1 samurai dogcat fox. Oh, dogcat fox.
Wowie, wow, wow.
That sultry wowie, wow, wow is from Roan Harushan. Yes, our very own Roan Harushan. He was the first person to submit their very own wowie, wow, wow as a stinger for the show. If you'd like to have your own wowie, wow, wow of some kind or another added to the wowie, wow, wow dogcat fox stingers, you just have to record yourself saying it and post it on Discord. We'll get to the Discord at the end of the show. But thank you, Alan, very much, and hope you enjoyed the wowie, wow, wow. All right, so anyway, let's get back to our speaker. You were growing up in the South, and what again? Let's back up and refresh ourselves.
Highly unlikely I would have been in that boardroom at all. I was born and raised in the South in an environment where it was rare for women to have a career. My mom was what I would call a Texas feminist.
Oh, feminism. Well, heck, all right. Circle in that one. A Texas feminist. So she plucked the chickens and had a shotgun or something?
She was raised culturally conservative, but she was anything but typical. She got a second degree in women's studies in her 50s.
A second degree? Wait. Does that mean she had 2 degrees in women's studies, or she just had a second degree that was women's studies? And what did that do for her in the workplace?
And 30 years ago, she started an all-women's investment club, and it still beats the S&P.
Oh, okay. Well, that is an economic disparity, if I ever heard one. All right. So, great. So your mom was financially savvy and, okay, what did your dad do? Was your dad not in? I mean, maybe dad wasn't in the picture. I don't know. Oh, Keeverdam asks a question over here in the chat. Let me pull that up here. Pardon me 1 second. Got to get to the right thing here. Keeverdam asks, thank you, Keeverdam, so much. Texas feminist, new buzz phrase. We'll see if she says it again or something else. I don't know. I can imagine that I don't know that she came up with that herself. Let's wait and see. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. Thank you, Keeverdam.
She kept exposing me to new opportunities. She's the one who put me on the bus to sleepaway camp.
Sleepaway camp? I have a completely different image in my head when I hear the phrase sleepaway camp. Those of you that know, you know.
She's the one who pushed me to go to Vanderbilt, and she's the one who convinced me to go to London.
Wait, she had to convince you to go to London? You pitched your idea to the CEO, got to the board, pitched your heart out. They offer you the opportunity to do what you pitched them to do, and you needed your mom to convince you to do it? Okay. Where's your dad? Just curious.
Today, I lead a social impact organization dedicated to putting more women on corporate boards.
Oh, for crying! All right, you know what? Just by dint of that, I'm circling diversity, equity, and inclusion because that is a DEI fundamental boilerplate position. Great. So you're dedicated to encouraging sexual discrimination in the workplace. Now, Goldman Sachs must love you because that was one of their conditions to do business with other companies, is that they had at least one woman on the board, because just put your token woman there and you're set, I suppose. I already got arguments. All right. I will entertain an argument or two in the course of the thing. Tier Alexander contradicts own point. She said having a career was frowned upon because she was from the South, but her mom had 2 degrees and she was from the South. That doesn't mean that it wasn't frowned upon. That doesn't inherently contradict the overwhelming notion about women having careers in the South. It just means her mom was an exception. So I see where you're going, but it's not quite there yet. Close. I circled economic disparity. So let me tell you again. On the board, I got circled. Remember this bingo card B: feminism, plays victim, economic disparity, free space, patriarchy, diversity, equity, and/or inclusion, and childhood or family anecdote. I might circle leaves out vital context if we don't hear about her dad, but maybe her dad literally wasn't part of the picture. I don't know. I'm just curious as to what happened to dad.
I'm here to make sure that you know that the boardroom is the most influential room in business, and why influencing who has a seat at those tables matters so deeply.
How about merit having earned their place there? Let's all keep in mind as we listen further as to how much she talks about merit. She's already done away with it, right? I mean, merit is at the very best a secondary consideration, perhaps even a tertiary consideration, because she's already told us she has an aversion to certain skin colors being too populous in the boardroom. So race and or gender will come first, I'm assuming, before merit is even thought of. But let's see if she ever brings that up.
And I know you probably didn't wake up today thinking about corporate boardrooms and who's on them.
Actually, given my pedigree, you'd be wrong.
But if you took an Uber here this morning or doom scrolled Instagram, those boards filled with people you don't know absolutely influenced your choices today.
Well, I didn't take an Uber anywhere, and I don't have an Instagram account, so yeah. And as far as I know, Twitter does not influence me to do anything except to troll people. Oh, wait. Damn you, Elon.
And you've probably heard of iconic CEOs like Amazon's Jeff Bezos, or
how could I avoid that one?
or Apple's Tim Cook, or
Yeah.
Netflix's Reed Hastings.
Are you going to talk about Twitter's Elon Musk or Tesla's Elon Musk? But here, what do they all have in common? She's going to say something like, what do they all have in common?
But can you name members of their boards?
No, I don't care.
That's a lot less likely.
If I was a shareholder, maybe I'd care. I'm not, so.
So here's why it matters who's on boards.
Okay.
Boards guide a company from what it makes to how much it makes.
Possibly.
They work at an altitude that's above the day-to-day, guiding strategy and decisions.
Sometimes to their own detriment. Hello, Bob Iger and Disney's board of directors, by the way. You guys are in trouble. If Nelson Peltz has his way, you guys are in trouble.
Not only can they override a CEO, they can hire and fire them.
Yes.
The clearest way to describe what a board does is how I explained it to my daughter Vivian when she was 5. I said, they're kind of like the boss of the boss. Right now, companies guided by their boards are deciding what we eat, what we spend, and what we get for the money.
Yeah, and if that's the case, that has been the case for ever. I don't know what the first literal board of directors was in the world or this country, but and what about it? Thank you, JB, so much. Defenestration, some old lore there, and a good idea by this point. There was a joke from Vampire the Masquerade, like a Tremere path called Path of Defenestration. Just various strengths and methods by which to throw somebody out a window. I forget who came up with that. That was an old joke back in the olden days. Thank you, JB.
How safe our cars are.
Oh.
What we can do about climate change. What solutions are available when our aging parents don't recognize us anymore. When you think about it, boards are key levers for social and economic change.
Okay, so you see boards as a platform for activism. If I'm reading between the lines of your cookbook here a little bit, you want to populate boards of directors. Doesn't matter which boards of directors, just boards of directors, but probably boards of directors of the Fortune 100, Fortune 500 maybe. Spread your odds out a little bit. With women, because obviously women all think the same, women all operate the same, all women have the same beliefs as you do, and they will all act in lockstep with your wants, needs, and desires. Or have I gone too far in my estimations? You tell me. Let's see. Come on, YouTube. There you go. Kiever Dam, thank you so much again. Family anecdote. She talked to her daughter. I already circled family anecdote for her talking about growing up in the South. So let me read off what I've circled so far just one more time. Feminism, plays victim, economic disparity, free space, patriarchy, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and childhood or family anecdote. Those are all circled so far. Thank you, Kiever Dam. But you'd be right if I didn't already. All right.
And when many people think about companies, they think about the big companies like Walmart or Apple or Disney, the ones traded on the stock market.
Sure.
But those are just 1% of the companies in the United States. And while many of those are small businesses, the real potential is with the high growth private companies driving the innovation of our future.
Right. So you want to insert your selected members of boards into those companies to, again, practice corporate activism.
I call them the sleeping giants. And all those big companies used to be one of these. I'm interested in the companies that'll become the next Google.
Well, I mean, okay. In a way, I never thought you'd be a junkie. No, okay. So her strategy is the same as mine. Let me explain. I watch TEDx's specifically to get the leading edge on the fringe ideas and concepts and arguments that haven't quite made it to the mainstream yet, to be on the lookout for the next big thing, right? The next white fragility, or whatever else, the next toxic masculinity, whatever the next big idea or big, zeitgeist earworm is going to be. Right? I'm looking out for the potential. All right, so we're of similar minds. Different areas, but similar minds. Okay.
We don't know how they're going to shape a future we can't see with products we've never experienced, designed and built in facilities that.
But we do know that simply having certain genitalia on the board will be good.
We don't have access to.
Yeah.
But we do know this. They are profoundly lacking in diverse voices in their boardrooms.
And I already know the answer to this question, but how do you define diverse? And conversely, please describe for me a non-diverse board member.
Nearly a third of those companies have 0 women on their
oh my God, nearly?
boards.
Oh.
Until last year, there were more men named Dave than women of color on those private company boards.
Oh my gosh. All right. So again, your litmus test for who deserves to be on the board is, as I guessed, both gender and now race. All right. When are you going to talk about merit?
Listen, people have been talking about board diversity for decades.
They've been talking about it. Yeah. How many laws do you want to risk by trying to engineer the population on the basis of elements that are a little touchy, both ethically and legally?
I could show you hundreds of studies that point to how diverse boards are better for business.
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, DEI is doing great for business right now. Have you seen Disney? Have you seen Citi? Have you seen HP? Boy, howdy. They're just racking up the wins with all their DEI stuff over the last 10 years. I tell you what.
Better for the environment.
How?
Better for employees.
How?
Better for profitability.
Whoa, really? Show me. Show me the direct line between an instituted DEI program and increased profits. and not a correlation without causation. I'm talking about we made this change and we can show from one decision to the next quarterly report that profits went up because we decided to hire people and place people and promote people on the basis of non-determinative factors. Show me that to be the case. Show me that there is some magic in that old silk hat they found. Or in this case, the genitalia or the skin color or the orientation of any particular person. That there's something inherent to someone's aesthetic that equals profits. Because I'll tell you, if you can put a price on someone's skin color in the corporate world, I can't wait for that analysis to come out.
Better, better, better.
Mm-hmm. You say.
Data's there.
Show me the data. Don't just tell me the data's there. Show me the data. Show me the money. I'm not taking your word for it.
But it hasn't moved the needle.
What? Why? Think about that for a second. If you knew, if you could prove, if you had the data to show that simply adding a woman to a board of directors increased profits automatically, increased innovation automatically, increased worker morale automatically, if you knew that to be the case, if it was absolutely certain, why wouldn't businesses just do it? Why wouldn't they? It'd be an easy sell. It's like, look, company X put a woman on their board and their profits rose 20% in 6 months. Company Y put a woman on their board and their profits rose 15% in 3 months. We should put a woman on our board. Why isn't it moving the needle if you have the data, if it is a factor of nature?
We've got to approach it in a different way.
Okay, what way do you suggest outside of having the data that shows simply changing the drapes on your board of directors increases profits automatically?
And we are.
Okay.
So I'm a product person.
If you say so.
Study problems, I study people,
Mm-hmm.
and I firmly believe that you can't change human behavior until you understand it.
You want to change human behavior. So you're kind of decrying the forces at work in corporate boardrooms and controlling people's lives and things, but you want to change people's behavior. Okay.
And then you can find ways to adapt to it.
Okay.
So if you think about how we pick board members, it's a lot like how we find babysitters. I mean, if I'm looking for someone to care for my 2 kids, I can somehow seek out and cull through a bunch of resumes, references, background checks, do some interviews, and then hire someone. Or,
I don't know. Admittedly, I've never had to hire a babysitter. I'm not a parent. But I would think that most parents would want to have someone watch their kids who is, at least in some way, shape, or form, provably reliable, is going to take care of the safety of their children, right? And see to, presumably, the most precious things in the parents' lives while they're off going to dinner or going out for a night or on a weekend or something, right? Someone with the requisite skills, reliability, trustworthiness, and responsibility to fulfill the job of seeing to their children. That's what I would think. But okay, background checks, resumes, that's one way. What's your other way?
I could just ask my good friend who they know and trust and pick that person.
You can do that if there's somebody that you trust because they've shown you that they are trustworthy, which is also an extension of merit and someone speaking up for someone else. I mean, an endorsement from a trusted friend goes a long way.
Problem solved. Boards look the way they do because they do the same thing.
Boards look the way they do. So the board of directors of the company you worked for are just what? Racist and sexist? Gosh, why would they ever agree to a business plan from a woman? and even like send her off to London. As racist and sexist as they are, obviously, because of what they look like.
They tap people who know the people they know.
There's an obvious joke there, but because I'm a gentleman, I'll just let it sit in the minds of my audience. They already know.
Women and women of color are almost always missing from those personal networks.
How did you get your pitch accepted? How were you given the opportunity to go to London?
So it's just going to be easier to find a qualified white guy. It's just the truth.
Right. Again, all boards of directors are racist. Right. And only white guys would do this, obviously. You'd never see a black woman tend to try to hire another woman or another black woman. You wouldn't see, I don't know, our speaker set up a whole organization to do nothing but to set up individuals into boardrooms who resemble her in the most cursory of ways. No. You wouldn't. Contradicts own pointer argument. If I needed an example, I've got one. Circling that one.
And when those networks don't produce the qualified others, it's tempting to think that the qualified women aren't there.
How about we just take off the gender consideration to say qualified person? How about that, first and foremost?
You see the problem.
You see a problem. It's true.
So when I got interested in solving the problem of who gets access to boards, I went and interviewed 90 CEOs and board members. All of them were men. And I told them my interest in bringing more women onto corporate boards.
And they said, well, if they have the requisite skills and experience, then perhaps they will. If they're being honest.
They all wanted to help, every single one of them.
Well, they couldn't say no because otherwise they'd look like a sexist.
And then I asked them, how did you find your last board member? And I got stories of ski weekends and golf games and private dinners, the kinds of settings where people are off guard and off the record.
Okay. And?
Where trust is built.
Many
of them met their board members at private dinners. It's how humans have bonded for centuries.
Oh, yeah, I know. Private dinners are something I attend. Private dinners are something that I attend. What's that time about? Well, I mean, I guess technically, well, I went to a private. Is going to a restaurant with your family a private dinner? I don't know if that's a private dinner. Anyway, yeah, I was able to, I had a chance to visit with my folks and my sister last night and go out to dinner, and it was yummy. And it was nice to see everybody. But, okay, we'll get to her in a moment. But first, thank you again, JB. All these flavors, and she chooses to be salty. Yeah, if she went around to CEOs and board members within the last 4 or 5 years in particular, yeah, the resistance to say rhetorically, sure, we want more women on the boards, probably there's no resistance whatsoever, right? It would not be the politic thing to say, no, we can't possibly have women on boards of directors. First off, it doesn't make any sense PR-wise. Secondly, it doesn't make any sense logically, because if you are actually just looking for the most qualified people, then gender is irrelevant. But she's not interested in looking for the most qualified people. There has to be a filter first. But okay, let me back up a little bit.
The kinds of settings where people are off guard and off the record, where trust is built. Many of them met their board members at private dinners.
Did any female board director or CEO ever select another board member through a private dinner or a, offhand, casual sort of social event kind of thing? Do only men do this?
It's how humans have bonded for centuries. You trust who you know.
Yes.
And then I saw it. We don't need to get rid of the dinner party. We just need to broaden who gets invited.
Why are they being invited? Why?
So I decided to throw my own.
You decided to do a business networking party? Wow, what a... What an innovative idea.
Small, curated, off the record, gender equal, a mix of CEOs, investors, and board members, and amazing board qualified women.
Amazing board qualified women. All right, so no board qualified men?
Roundtable moderated conversations unfold with stories that never fail to inspire me.
You stacked the deck. I mean, congratulations. It's not exactly a new strategy or anything, but you stacked the deck. How innovative. What were you saying earlier about people selecting people based on who they're familiar with? What familiarity did you have with your qualified board-ready women, other than them just being women? Because sisterhood?
Stories that describe the real qualities of great board members.
Oh, what are the real qualities of great board members? Obviously, the first one has to be that they're a woman.
And it's not the math skills on the audit committee, but the superpowers that matter.
The superpowers, that was, oh my God, Superpower Month was last year. Do I have to do another Superpower Month this year? Do I have to make February Superpowers Month again? Should that be like a yearly thing? Oh boy.
People whose advice you can't get enough of.
Uh-huh.
The wise guys that ask thoughtful questions or inspire teams to think bigger.
Wise guys?
Even relate to the products and the customers who use them.
Uh-huh.
These dinners always have inspiring stories.
You use that word a lot, inspiring. Why?
Like the one where the board member sat next to a CEO on a long international flight just to show support for a game-changing pitch, which they won.
So they were a suck-up. Wow. Can you imagine playing onto somebody's ego to get ahead in business? That's amazing.
Since that dinner 5 years ago, we've hosted 150 of these conversations.
Conversations? No, they're force majeure matchmaking sessions to push your activist, female-selected board member candidates. Conversations. Come on.
But dinners are just a piece of this. We've helped thousands of companies who are looking to diversify their boards.
And I would love it if she would name some. And I'd love to, over the previous 5 years, track their overall business fortunes. I'd just be curious to know. Because if simply putting women on the boards of directors is going to improve company profits, it should be readily available and readily obvious, right? You have the data, correct?
Understanding their needs and making tailored introductions.
Yeah, right. And your sexual discriminatory practices are just, par for the course. Of course. Oh, wait, I said the thing. Oh, dang it. Okay, I got to go find the
right?
No, where's none of this?
Of course.
That's what I meant. You get double chink. What can I tell you?
Through the connections they've built, we built a network of over 7,000 board qualified women. And as a direct result of introductions we've made, women have been appointed to over 100 board seats.
What companies? Tell us what companies. You should be bragging.
10% were first in their family to go to college. Almost half of those are women of color.
So again, names, not important. Actual qualifications, not important. Race and gender, super important. That's a great way of thinking. Boy, deciding who should be put onto a board of directors on the basis of their race and their gender. What was your complaint again at the top of this? Hey, thank you again, JB. Behind closed doors, she practices self-flagellation. Oh, I don't know about that. Now, she seems very, very assured of herself. I don't know that she's feeling all that bad. There might be some CEOs and other board members out there who, in order to make women happy or not be seen as something else, doing quite a bit to themselves. But I guess we'll see. Let's see. Let me check out the card real quick. Marginalization. If by implication, if nothing else, marginalization is up there because of the percentages she gave us about how many women were on boards and so on and so forth, circling that one. Collectivize his own demographic. Yeah. At this point, I think that's a safe bet as well. Circling that one. Okay. I'm gonna wait a bit. I don't want to get too circle happy here. So just a reminder, what's on the board so far? And remember, this is bingo card B. Marginalization, contradicts own point or argument, feminism, plays victim, collectivizes own demographic, economic disparity, free space, patriarchy, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and lastly, childhood or family anecdote. So, you know what? I'm going to circle leaves out vital context as well, because she's not telling us what companies have instantly benefited from her efforts. Now, if she starts naming names in a minute, I'll take the circle back. But so far,
solving board diversity isn't a pipeline problem.
You haven't even told us it's a problem yet. Here's the issue. You need to first demonstrate the problem. You have not demonstrated a problem. The only problem you've demonstrated is the one you have with men, and particularly white men. That is not a problem for companies. You haven't shown that companies have been at a detriment as a result of the makeup of their boards of directors. You just don't like men, and particularly white men. You want to populate boards with women, and particularly women of color, because you want to use the influence of boards to affect the change you want. You want to change people's minds through board corporate activism. You want a seat at the big table, or you want to be the queen bee of all the people that have seats at the table. So you have this network of board members across all these other companies, and you at the center, giving advice, sending out newsletters, setting an agenda, so on and so forth. Right? Okay. That might solve your problem of wanting control and power, but you haven't actually demonstrated that anything you are doing is solving a problem at these companies. So far, the entire premise of your argument is without standing. You need to articulate the actual problem and provide evidence thereof. I know I'm being a nitpicker, but that's what I do.
It's a network problem. Because, and hear this, we have so many qualified women in our network, and I meet more every day.
Well, the first qualification is that they're women. So I'm sure you meet plenty of women every day that are qualified for the board in your eyes.
Women who are CFOs at public companies, not on a board yet.
Women who are CFOs at public companies not on a board yet. What?
Women who build iconic products for companies that go to IPO, not on a board yet.
They don't. Is every man who was a CFO of a public company also on the board? Is every man who invented something prior to an IPO also on the board? Unless you're going to tell me that 100% of male CFOs of public companies end up on the board of directors of whatever, and likewise for creators of products for IPOs, what you just said means nothing, and actually is going to be a weightless example here in a second, especially since you're not telling us or giving us any success stories. If you have this amazing network of qualified women on boards of directors, why aren't you showing off their successes? Why aren't you telling us some names of individual women by their names and actual identities, and not just wiping them away because of their gender and their race? Give us a success story. Brag. Brag about what you've accomplished. Why aren't you bragging?
Women running billion-dollar divisions that those private companies would be hungry to learn from, not on a board yet.
So no one that falls within your example, and no one who doesn't fall, and everyone who doesn't fall within your examples, really, all men that fit those same criteria are on boards of directors, and no women who fall into those criteria are on boards of directors. Okay.
I mean, come on. If you're a woman who's wondering if she's qualified to serve on a board, take this seriously. You probably are qualified.
Why? Well, okay. And this is me showing off my ignorance. In general terms, what qualifies someone to be on the board of, let's take her first example, right? She worked at a tech startup. All right. What would you say are things that would make someone qualified, setting aside their gender and their race? I know it's a crazy idea. What qualifies someone to be on the board of directors? How high is the bar to be on the board of directors for a company, any company? I mean, if you take a look at Disney's board of directors right now, Bob Iger has populated the board of directors with a whole raft of sycophants, most of whom have never had any experience in the entertainment industry or the parks industry or anything else. So for Disney, the only bar to jump over is, does Bob Iger know you, and can you be controlled by Bob Iger so that Bob Iger never has to worry about any kind of, resistance or anything? So I'm assuming what qualifies someone for a board of directors is really up to the board, right? So how do you know that anybody you talk to is qualified? Just because they're a woman, I'm assuming?
The job boils down to amassing enough operating experience to guide a CEO. Own your value, and then start asking, who knows me? And by who, I mean CEOs, investors, and board members. Reach out and ask them to keep you top of mind for board opportunities.
On the basis of what? Oh, right, you're a woman.
Be bold. Be visible.
But women are invisible. Nobody sees them. Ever. Hillary Clinton.
These rooms need your voice.
Why?
And as for the CEOs, investors, and board members, stop asking, who do we know? And start asking, what do we need? Because who you know is not what you need.
Well, apparently all boards need are women, and particularly women of color.
One of my favorite people is Danny Meyer. He's the founder of Shake Shack, and he put it to me quite bluntly. He said, your company can't grow with the same people coming up with the same ideas time and time again. Make an effort to reach outside your relationships.
That does not mean women. That does not mean skin color. New ideas and diverse thinking does not inherently come from a physical difference. Unless you're going to start attributing qualities of thought to skin color and or genitalia. Because if you start doing that, I got news for you. You're one or both of two things. A racist or a sexist.
And when you reach out, reach several layers out. It'll take more work, but it'll totally be worth it.
Not necessarily. You can't guarantee that. How could you possibly guarantee that?
Listen, board conversations can be hard.
Why?
I get it.
Do you?
People want to be with those who they know and who they trust.
Or those that they have a reliable notion that they're going to help ensure the company's prosperity. Or, as in the case of Disney, is just a Igor to the CEO's Frankenstein. I said Frankenstein. My brain wanted to say Frankenstein, but then I got young Frankenstein in my head. I got Frankenstein. Anyway.
It may seem safe, but it's actually one of the riskiest things that you can do.
Prove it. Give me an example.
It promotes groupthink, and that's the opposite of innovation.
Your only bar for entry is genitalia in your organization. You want to set women into boardrooms for specific corporate activist agendas. Groupthink? Groupthink. You assume that a room full of white men all think the same. groupthink.
What we're really talking about is cognitive diversity.
Oh, what? No. No. You are not talking about cognitive diversity. You do not get to make that move. If that was your primary driver, I would have nothing to argue with you about. If your organization was about collecting qualified, experienced, educated, diverse thinkers, then I'd be like, wow, great. But you're not for that. You have a gate. You have a filter. Either they're women or they're not. And they're women of color or they're not. You have sliced out, at the very least, 50% of the possible innovative thinkers on the planet with your sexism. You don't care about diversity of cognitive diversity? No. So you've already lost that argument.
It's not just about finding people who look different from you.
You just what was the foundationary goal of your organization again? What have you been extolling the virtues of this entire time?
It's about finding people who think different from you.
Okay, if I didn't already circle contradicts own point or argument, I've circled it, so it doesn't matter. But come on, lady, come on.
Because they have a different lived experience.
Oh, do they? Do they? What about all the white guys in the room at the beginning of your own story? Do they have a different experience? Do they have cognitive diversity? No. No, you just group them all together and wipe them out as a problem. No, you cannot, you have disallowed yourself from making this move at this point. As soon as you put a gender and a race filter up in your decision making and who deserves to be at the table, cognitive diversity is at best a secondary consideration. And honestly, given your list of attributes that you care about so far, a tertiary one. Come on.
They surface unexpected questions that take the conversation in a different direction. Mm-hmm. Questions that surface blind spots that maybe weren't obvious to boards before. It takes intention to find these people.
Yeah, it takes intention, like sexism and racism.
I mean, if you're missing your CFO, you wake up in a panic, just wondering when you're going to be able to hire this person. But nobody really wakes up thinking, where's my wise guide? You know, it can take a long hike or a nap to even realize that you need a wise guide.
Wise guide. All right. I'm circling attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. If Texas feminist didn't do it, that's like the second or third time now that she's used that phrase. I thought she said wise guys earlier, but she says wise guide. That's a new one for me. All right.
And wisdom isn't obvious on LinkedIn. Sometimes you don't know these people until you meet them.
You don't need to know anybody. You've already told us what your primary concern is.
Like Liz Jenkins. So I met Liz through a mutual friend in LA.
Oh my God, a named individual? That's a woman? Aside from your mother? Okay.
And at the time, she was CFO and COO of Hello Sunshine, which is Reese Witherspoon's media company.
A named company? Oh my, okay. Well, you know what? I might have to take back leaves out vital context. We'll see what she says here. Is this a success story? Did she join your organization and now what?
And I read her bio and I was like, well, she must know everyone. But entertainment company circles are just that. They're circles within one industry. And they don't always intersect with circles in other industries.
And that is such a rare thing. Wow, okay.
Like technology. At that dinner, Liz met someone from Snap and the CEO of Glad. And despite working within miles of these two organizations, she had never met them before.
Wow, imagine that. Working in a completely separate and uninvolved industry from someone else and never intersecting with them in any way, shape, or form. What a shocking revelation. That's amazing. I can't wait to see where this goes. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. Wait, she's a woman. How did she see her? I don't know. How was she a CFO? Whoop. That's work telling me that something is. All right, stop it. Stop it. Yeah, I tell you what, I have that alert noise. So that is the opening stinger sound from one of my favorite TV shows, The Shield. And as a little alert noise, it's very unique. It also scares the hell out of me when I'm not expecting it. It makes me jump like, somebody's screaming. Anyway, yeah, how is she seen? How is she a CFO? How is she in any position of authority whatsoever? Anyway, yeah, so imagine this. If I work for a motorcycle engine company, I'm probably not spending a whole lot of time commiserating with someone who works for an animation company, unless it's just random luck, because I'm usually spending most of my time in the shop. But anyway, what now?
Dinner, Liz met someone from Snap and the CEO of Glad. And
what's Snap? Or Snap isn't Snapchat, right? It's something else. I know what Glad is.
Despite working within miles of these two organizations, she had never met them before. And she wasn't on their radar. Today, Liz chairs the audit committee of Snap, the app all our kids use.
Oh, so Snapchat? Wait. You told us that female CFOs never end up on boards. Am I incorrect, everyone? Did she not tell us a minute ago that women CFOs never end up on boards? Did I miss that one? Am I misremembering? Okay, so that's either a contradicts own point or argument. Already got that circled. We'll have to wait for that one. Okay, hold on to that one. We'll take that up in a minute. We're 2 minutes away from being done with this thing.
She's also chair of the board of Glad.
Wait. She's a female CFO, and not only is she a chair of one organization, she's a chair of two organizations at once? How is that possible?
An iconic organization in the movement for equality.
Is it? Really? Tell me again about the equality of your organization with a gender filter at the very least.
These two seats allow Liz to use her voice in places that really matter.
Do they? Okay. How?
Those companies just needed access to her.
Those companies just needed access to her. Oh my gosh. God's gift to boards, everyone. They needed access to her. That sounds so unseemly, doesn't it?
You see it, right?
No.
Talent is everywhere.
You have not told us what commended her to the boards of those two organizations. She's a CFO of Reese Witherspoon's company, and now she's on the boards of Snap and Glad. Why? What does she do for them? Because she's a very high-level accountant? Is that it? Are you going to tell us what she's doing there? What qualifies her to be there?
But opportunity's not.
What?
Each of us can point to someone who's opened a critical door or started a worthy conversation.
Wait. The example you just used was just a random encounter. It wasn't planned. As you said, she worked just blocks or whatever, miles away from these two organizations and never intersected because their businesses are completely separate from one another. That was not anybody making... Did I miss something? Was this an arranged get-together by our speaker that she's talking about? What brought all those three people together at this dinner, this party or whatever? Was that one of her events? And I'm asking, I'm not being facetious. I can't remember. Did she say that it was one of her events that did this? Because it sounded like she was talking to someone and she was told a story. Not that this was the result of her own efforts. Okay, weightless example. You couldn't plan for that. That was just a, what was his name? Robert Evans kind of situation. He jumps in one end of the pool, an accountant or something. He comes out the other end of the pool, a movie star. You can't, Okay. My brain is going in 7 directions right now.
Every day, I meet women who are just wanting to broaden their impact.
Oh, I'm sure you meet a lot of activist women, yeah.
It's like I'm staring at potential all the time.
Well, then take the initiative like you did when you went to your CEO with your business idea. What is stopping any of these women from doing similar to yourself?
Potential for these amazing qualified women, yes.
Potential is effectively meaningless without action. If they don't take the action, wouldn't it be more impressive if they took the initiative, used their own agency to move the dial for themselves?
But potential too for these companies that could be so much more successful.
Prove it.
With the wisdom that board diversity offers.
What wisdom is inherent to women? Hell, what wisdom is inherent to either of the genders? What wisdom is inherent to any particular skin color? Tell me. Tell me what I should know to expect from someone simply by looking at them. Was there no wisdom in the board of directors you went to at the top of your presentation? I mean, they put you in London, they agreed to your business idea, but they were all white men. So is that a situation where they lacked wisdom?
This problem is one that impacts all of us.
Do tell.
And it's one that we can start to solve with the conversations that we choose to make happen next.
What do you mean we, white woman?
If you're on a board, invite women into the boardroom.
And risk a lawsuit? Sorry. If you're on the board, just invite women. Doesn't matter, just as long as they're women. Right? That is the only qualification.
Conversations that we choose to make happen next.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on a board, invite women into the boardroom. Invite younger women. Invite in the voices that might be missing.
Oh, yeah. I can just see the headlines now. Old white men boardroom directors invite young women into the back rooms. Okay, so far we've had invite women, invite young women. Okay, do you want to give any other qualifications for who should be invited to the table?
And if you're a woman who's interested in being on a board, but maybe you don't feel like you're ready yet, get in front of your board with a worthy project or an idea.
Why not give that advice to people? Right? I mean, do you think men do that reflexively all the time? But okay, but women, young women, are you going to give us any other attributes?
Board diversity isn't about math.
Yes, it is. You just brought up statistics at the top. You complained about the statistics of board seats at the top of your presentation. And your entire agenda is to populate boards of directors with more women. It's about the numbers. You made it about the numbers. What are you talking about?
What?
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Right?
Give me a break. I feel like I'm being gaslit here or something. Come on.
It's about chemistry.
So, yes, invite young women into the boardroom, guys, and look for that chemistry.
And chemistry is about people.
Oh, is it about people? Oh, what kinds of people?
Relationships.
Oh.
Wisdom.
Wisdom, yeah. Uh-huh.
It's messy.
Oh.
It's creative. It's human nature.
Oh, man, you're starting to describe a whole bunch of elements of something. No, sorry, what?
It's the driving force behind innovation and growth.
Oh, is it? Show me. Prove it. Give me a success story from your organization, not an anecdote you heard from another lady who had a chance encounter with 2 people at some brunch and then ended up on the boards of 2 different corporate organizations. Give me a success story from your organization. You must have one you can talk about. You must be able to name somebody who's ended up on the board of directors for some major company, and then their fortunes just flourished. On the day that they entered the boardroom, everything got better. You've got that success story, don't you?
We can solve board diversity in the United States in the next 10 years.
Oh, golly, can we? Solve board diversity. You haven't shown that there's a problem, unless it's about the numbers.
That means that every company that matters will have a critical mass of women on their boards.
But it's not about the numbers.
And that's when the flywheel really gets going, when they start to tap into their networks. The more we change the system, the more the system changes itself.
But they don't have networks. Women don't have networks. That's why your organization exists, because they don't network. They can't network. They're not networked to begin with. What networks are they bringing to the table?
Each seat unlocks a voice, asking different questions.
Right, because you know that someone has different questions simply on the basis of their gender. Okay.
And catalyzing new solutions.
Name one. Name one. You've been doing this for at least 5 years. You've had hundreds and hundreds of these networking luncheons. Name one success story.
In 10 years, my daughter Vivian will be 22.
I don't, good for her. In 10 years, I'll be 55.
And she'll just be entering the workplace.
Uh-huh.
She should never.
Wait. She'll be just entering the workplace at 22? Okay, I was entering the workplace at 16. What the hell are you talking? Wow, that is a privileged kid, I tell you what. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like are you talking about like post-college workforce? Because, some of us actually have to work before or in order to pay for college. I don't know.
My daughter Vivian will be 22.
Uh-huh.
And she'll just be entering the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
She should never see the problem that we're fixing.
What problem? What problem?
I didn't see board members as a little girl. And when I did see them at 28, none of them looked like me.
But it's not about the numbers.
It was harder to share my ideas. It was harder to find my voice.
Because all men are sexist. And it's about cognitive diversity. And it's not about the numbers.
I want my daughter and my son to see a different room.
Whoa, wait, you have a son? So God. I am okay, I'm not a psychologist, but I do own a couch. Your first and primary concern was for your daughter. And your son is mentioned almost literally as an afterthought. Good gravy.
Were decisions being made account for more voices, more experiences, and more points of view?
You're not talking about points of view or experiences. You talked about aesthetics. You didn't see people that looked like you. You have an aversion to men, particularly white men. Okay.
I want them to experience a world where the seeds that we plant today have grown into their full potential.
Yeah, but your son obviously shouldn't be on the board of directors of any company, right? You just got through telling, at least by extension, your son that he is not worthy. In fact, he should probably stay away from trying to become a member of a board of directors, right? He's not the desired type.
For all the doors that you're going to open. Thank you.
Wow. I mean, how about a...
Wowie, wow.
Exactly. Wow, okay, that was something else. I had not expected that. I thought this was going to... I didn't know what to think. I just had the title. I just had the how is a raven like a writing desk kind of thing in my mind. But now we know. How are boardrooms and what do boardrooms and babysitters have in common? most of them should be women. I guess. I don't know. Anyway, let's go to the bingo card. That's what it looks like right now. I'm going to go over it one more time by myself. If you guys have any arguments for squares to be circled, hold on to them, and I'll get to you in a moment. Okay, self-vilification or wretchedness? No. No. Even though she mentioned, she was intimidated here, there, and otherwise, nothing about this was her making apologies for herself or anything like that. Microaggressions or unconscious bias? Yes, her own towards, and not even, just saying like, lack of innovation, lack of wisdom, Yeah. She was perpetrating microaggressions, effectively, in large part, on men. And apparently that's perfectly fine. So,
Bingo.
What? Bingo! Yeah! Of course! Of course!
that's our first bingo. All right, going on. Privilege. Starting into the workforce at 22, that feels like it. But no, she's talking, definitely the privilege of men hiring other men who look like them, on and on and on. So I think that's valid. All right, benevolent condescension. Boy, howdy. It's not about the numbers. It's about cognitive diversity. Now, let me tell you how I have an aversion to the visual toxicity of too many of the wrong types of people in a room with me.
Bingo. What? Of course!
All right. Argumentative non sequitur. I don't mean to double dip, but again, it's not about the numbers. It's about cognitive diversity, and she keeps coming. Well, no, hold on. That's contradicts own point or argument. Argumentative non sequitur is sometimes a tough one to do because it's a bit abstract, but okay. I will leave that to somebody in the chat who's probably got a better idea. A list. She did list off companies at one point, companies that we know and so on, as examples. And so I will circle that one. Moving on. Let's see. Mind reading or assumes motives. Yes, that wisdom and the possession of better ideas, innovative ideas, on and on and on, can instantly be divined on the basis of someone's gender and or their race. And so, with that.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right? Yeah!
All right. Anecdote that probably never happened. We had to wait forever for an anecdote that actually was apropos to the argument. And I don't have any reason to think that the lady from Reese Witherspoon's company didn't end up on the boards of directors of those two organizations. And it didn't sound outside the realm of anything. It had nothing to do with our speaker's organization, but and she didn't really, and her mother being an investor and everything and taking a gender studies degree. I can believe all of the anecdotes, all three of them, I think. Oh, well, the one at the top where she said she took her idea to the board of directors and they approved it and everything. It didn't sound too good to be true. So, yeah. White supremacy. Certainly, either by what she said directly or by implication otherwise. Let's see. Systemic or institutional. I think I am safe in saying that her assessment of how boardroom selections work and so on is an institution, and the quote unquote problem in her mind is systemic. So I'm going to circle that one. Now, sales pitch for product or service. She never named her organization, did she? I mean, she talked about it, but did she actually pitch it? Well, I mean, she did talk about like how many dinners they served and how many women they've got on there. And yeah, she did. She really did. I mean, even if she didn't name the organization, I don't think she did, but she was pitching how great her great organization was, even though she never gave us an active example of anything that they'd done. But
Bingo.
What?
Of course!
Okay, now word salad. This might be controversial. But this isn't just contradicts on point or argument. But with as many instances as she double backed on herself when she talked about not seeing the right kind of people, but then talking about cognitive diversity, by saying that it wasn't about the numbers, but leaning completely into either statistics or the observable critical mass of certain types of people on boards. This entire presentation was a word salad, as far as I'm concerned. It contradicted and double backed on itself so many times, it can't be anything else than a word salad. And with that square, if you can believe it.
Won't somebody please?
Bingo. B-I-N-G-O.
Okay!
Right?
I had a dog, and his name was...
What?
I had a dog, and his name was...
Bingo!
Of course!
Bingo.
What?
Bingo!
Yeah!
Of course! Of course!
A triple bingo square. My golly good gosh. All right. There are 3 squares left. 2 of them I am going to need like Mount Everest climbing to the tippy top levels of perfection to convince me. Anecdote that probably never happened, and self-vilification or wretchedness. Because we're talking getting close to another blackout here. Argumentative non sequitur, I could possibly see something in there and someone making a good argument. But at this point, these have to be number 1 gold-plated arguments. Otherwise, I'm not moving. I gotta hold some standards here. So while I wait for some arguments, a couple more hellos here from the past, as it were. Yvonne Solomon, good evening. Who else is here? Datura Jones. Good evening, Datura Jones. She did make up a new phrase, wise guide. Yeah, she said that a couple too many times. Let's see. Adcast Diaboli. The whole section about it is not who you know, it is about what you need was word salad. Yep, it was pablum as though she sounded profound. But yeah, exactly. Yep. Amongst several other examples. All right. All right. So any arguments for the 3 remaining squares? And like I say, they better be good. And good evening, Ercole Di Stefano. I don't believe she was nervous in the boardroom. Let's see. Scribelight also, she left out some pretty massive context in not mentioning board members are elected by the shareholders ultimately. Well, leaves out vital context was also circled. There you go. All right. Zan Wild. Her story about her brown suit, because that's what you wear to board meetings, equals wretchedness. It doesn't quite rise to the level. See, here's the thing. Self-vilification or wretchedness, debasing yourself for whatever reason in the course of the presentation as a point in argument for your presentation has to be the standard. So if I'm going up there and I'm going to talk about white privilege, right, I have to admit and, completely just pontificate and not pontificate. What's the word I'm looking for? Prostrate myself. That's what I meant. Prostrate myself before the audience about the terribleness of my being white. If I'm going to talk about white privilege, right? I make myself an element of my own presentation and argument in some way, shape, or form. So simply saying, making a joke at one's own expense is not necessarily self-vilification or wretchedness. And I have to be strict here. Rotten Corpse. I cannot see self-vilification since she kept saying women are better than men. That's the other part too. And she never said anything about having failed. Every instance where she talked about something that she wanted to do, it was a success story. She pitched the idea to the CEO. She got to the board. They agreed to it. They sent her to London. She started this organization. They had one lunch, and that turned into hundreds over 5 years, on and on and on. Zan Wild, come on, man. Uncle Joe. Brown suits, does it get more wretched? Yeah, well. Yeah, this is TED Excellence, not Fashion Police. That's a different show. Mark Smart, the idea that her mom is better than the average investment company. Oh. Well, now here's the problem. I don't know how easy or common it is to quote unquote beat the S&P. I mean, the S&P is just like an average, right? So you could have some private little investing group or something that, at least statistically speaking, quote unquote, beats the S&P. So I don't know that that's inherently an antidote to the problem. But then I'm not an accountant. I'm not a stock guy. I'm not a Wall Street guy. So if somebody can tell me that, quote unquote, beating the S&P is nigh on impossible, by whatever standard she meant beating the S&P, then by all means. But I'm not sure I can circle that without some kind of assurance. Advocate Diablo, her entire talk was argumentative. She was giving a divergent opinion as to what she sees as the status quo. Expand on that a bit, or somebody else try to do a rephrase if you agree. I want to make sure on that one. Ostzan, wretchedness, her having a son instead of another daughter. That felt really low to me. I mean, I made a deal of it at the time, but that did feel a little low. That she worried about her daughter first and foremost, and her son, who she didn't even name. She named her daughter, wouldn't even name her son. I don't know. There feels like some Freudian or Jungian psychology taking place there that, oi. Let's see. Let's see. Mark Smart still seems a bit unbelievable to me, and my mom works as an accountant. It's a double bingo square. I would have to know that the likelihood of some private investment group or whatever else, quote unquote, beating the S&P. She didn't even get enough information to know what that meant, but if someone can tell me that it is practically impossible for any kind of private investment group or individual to beat the S&P with their investment portfolio, maybe. I don't know if you're going to do that now. Mess. Snap stock fell from 76, I'm assuming, billion in 2021 to its current value of 16. Well, I mean, obviously, shush, man. Okay, Advocata. She was expressing the way it is and expressing her alternate opinion as to how and why it would be better, even though she did not elaborate. I mean, but that leaves out vital context, isn't it? That's not an argumentative non sequitur. Or maybe I always get stuck on argumentative non sequitur because it is very subjective. Or maybe I'm just too dumb right now to understand your argument. Okay, how is that not leaves out vital context, I guess? Osan, anecdote that probably never happened. Her talking to her 5-year-old about board members. Well, no, she said her kid was going to be 22 in 10 years, so her kid's 12. So I could see her talking to her, preteen daughter about her work and stuff. I mean, especially if she has an organization that is specifically geared towards putting women on boards of directors. I could see that. Oh, it's the man of the hour himself, Ron Harushin. Ron, you've had your Dogcat Fox Stinger played twice now. Just so you know. Trying to play a game and explain, it is hard, LOL. Are you playing Candy Crush? Are you splitting your attention between a game and the importance of the bingo card, Advocatus? How dare you? How dare you? Okay, so I think self-vilification is out. Anecdote that probably never happened. I'm not sure. The S&P one is the only one that's kind of on the block because everything else sounded reasonable-ish. Bragging about mom's success financially, it's hard for me to say. Sam, but she specified their daughter was 5 at the time. Did she? She say 5? Maybe I missed that part. Again, talking to your kid about your, I don't know. I don't know if that's enough for a double bingo. Let's see. I feel called out. I'm playing Candy Crush. Well, you are a woman. I mean, anyway. Tier Alexander, am I invisible again? No, not unless you put on your cloak. Did I miss something? Hold on. Okay. Scarlett, no, yeah, right. Her 5-year-old daughter. Okay. Yeah, her talking to her kids about her work. Since she's trying to indoctrinate people into her way of thinking, I could see her talking to young children, trying to convince them of things. So that doesn't sound out of the bounds for her, especially since she venerates her daughter more than her son. So, wait. So are you? So am I what? I'm a woman? What? All right. Shadowclaw, where would you like the zinger in your Discord? Oh, you can just put it into the TED Excellence channel. I just posted in the TED Excellence channel. Yeah. So as Ron Harushan has, well, he hasn't learned it here. I'll just to let him know that it is real.
Wowie, wow.
Yeah. So if you have a wowie wow you'd like to contribute to the soundboard of Dog Cat Fox Stingers, you just have to go to the Discord and post your own recording. And you can put a couple of options in there for me. You can do it a couple of times with some space in between if I can choose one over the others. And if you'd like to join the Discord to do that, link is in the chat box right now. Click on that. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me and my moderators that you actually watched the show and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement of joining the Discord server. And today's secret word is Wise Guides. Yes, Wise Guide. Just put Wise Guide, hello, Wise Guide, into the Discord chat there, and I'll know that you watched the show. All right. I know some people might be angry with me, but I am going to call it here. But here's the thing. While I don't think there's any way you can get self-vilification or wretchedness out of this, so a blackout is out of the question, it is not impossible that an argument for argumentative non sequitur, anecdote that probably never happened, could come up at some point after the show has wrapped up. So, as I make this promise before, I'll make it again. If you have an argument for a square not yet circled, put it into the comments after the show. And if it does convince me after the fact, I will make sure I highlight that comment on the video. And as well, I will put a notification into the Discord server with an updated version of the bingo card. And I will credit you with your contribution. Advocatus, if it happens to be you after the fact, and you clear yourself up after you get off your Angry Birds, then so be it. But that'll be up to you. And before I totally wrap up, thank you again, Alan Thaler, for the lovely, heart-filled Dog Cat Fox. Oh, Dog Cat Fox.
Wow. Wow.
There's a Sinatra Dog Cat Fox. Thank you so much, Alan. It's very appreciated. Appreciate it very much, I should say. Okay, so before my words leave me, everybody, thank you for joining me for this very surprising. I hadn't expected this much excitement with this particular talk. Boy, we covered a lot of ground. Thank you for joining me for that. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very, very little to do. Everybody who donated, either to myself or to the GoFundMe's pinned at the top of the chat box, thank you guys so much for your generosity. It's very much appreciated. Remember, you can catch me here every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for TED Excellence. And then on Sundays at 8 a.m., try to say that. I wait tie 8 apples and bananas. 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern for the Sunday stream on Sundays, and perhaps other things in between. And also, at least I think I should be this week as well, Sunday at the Midnight's Edge After Dark channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for The Shit List, where I and several other geeks go down top 5 lists of our favorite whatevers we're talking about that night. It's very fun and very relaxing for me because I'm on somebody else's show and don't have to worry about managing all the boards and things. But everyone, thank you again for joining me. Hope you all have a good rest of your Thursday evening. Please hit the like button on the way out if you would, and share if you like this kind of thing. Hope you're all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.